Great. So today I'd like to talk about the spinal cord. And so the spinal cord is obviously just a bundle of nerves that extends from the foramen magnum all the way down to about the L1 or 2 vertebrae. It's a collection of nerves, both afferent and efferent, and it lets the body communicate with the brain. So one thing before we kind of get into what the spinal cord is all about, I wanted to review a little bit about where the spinal cord sits. So this is the lateral view, a little drawing of the lateral view of one of our thoracic vertebrae, all right? So here you've got the body of the vertebrae, that's the solid bony part. Back here, okay, you've got your spinous process. So label this guy. This is the spinous process. We got our transverse process, okay? This is our superior articular facet and inferior articular process and inferior articular process, okay? See this little guy right here, he'll come into play in a little bit. He's called the inferior notch, okay? But what's going on here, and the kind of the purpose that I drew this, is because the spinal cord itself is going to pass through right here. So it's going to sit right in this little hole that sits between the spinous process and the body of the vertebrae. This same vertebrae, from the dorsal perspective, looks like this. So you've got your body of the vertebrae, and then right behind the body you've got this hole. It's called the vertebral foramen. So I'll keep it consistent. We have our transverse processes coming out and our spinous process. That's kind of the dorsal view of this same vertebrae. And the spinal cord itself is going to sit right here in this cavity. It's going to run up and down. This cavity's not big, so you can barely fit your pinky inside that cavity. And another thing to think about is that the spinal cord is going to be covered by the meninges, just like the brain. It's got the thick dura mater around it, along with the arachnoid and the subarachnoid space, which contains that cerebrospinal fluid, and the pia mater. And in addition, there's a little bit of room for some fat, some regions of fat that helps cushion the spinal cord. Okay, so that's where he is. And now I'm going to kind of talk about what is inside that spinal cord. So now I'm going to draw the spinal cord. This is like, we took the spinal cord, we did a cross section of it. This is kind of so we're looking, this is the dorsal side of this cross section. And then here is the spinal cord as it extends down. This is going to be the ventral side, okay? And this is going to be back here as the dorsal side. Right in the middle, we've got a hole. This is called the central canal. Actually, let me draw it more accurately. Got a little hole like that. All right, here we've got a little crease, and here. All right, just a little bit of terminology. This is called the central canal. Central canal. This is the dorsal sulcus. And this is the ventral fissure. Okay, you guys remember back when we were talking about the brain, we remember that if we think about the cerebral hemispheres, we'll think that the cerebral hemispheres, the gray matter was located on the outside or periphery of the cerebral cortices, and the white matter was on the inside. So what we'll find here, and this is different, is that you'll find that the gray matter is actually on the inside and the white matter is on the outside. So everything here is gray and everything out here is white. This little shape of gray matter, it has some terminology associated with it. This little part of the gray matter, this is on the ventral side, and it's called the ventral horn. This is on the lateral side, it's called the lateral horn. And this guy is on the dorsal side, he's called the dorsal horn. We also have some nerves that come out of the spinal cord. So we have a series of nerves right here on the ventral side, little nerves that exit the spinal cord. Those are called the ventral roots. These come together and they form a larger nerve that kind of comes out here. This is called the ventral root. So that we have the rootlets here and the ventral root here. So ventral root, and then rootlets. On the dorsal side, we have a similar thing going on. We've got a series of dorsal rootlets. They come out, you have a little bump, and then these guys are gonna connect with the ventral root. When they connect, that forms the spinal nerve. So this is the spinal nerve. This is the dorsal rootlets, dorsal root. Okay? And those combine to form the spinal nerve. And obviously you have both of these. This is going on each side of the spinal cord. Draw it out here. Kind of going over my labels, but that's all right. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Now, there's some important kind of characteristics about what happens in the ventral versus the dorsal root. If we think about a neuron associated with the somatic nervous system, so this is a neuron that's sending a command out to a skeletal muscle, we'll find that the cell body of these neurons are going to be in the gray matter, because that's what gray matter is. If you remember, gray matter is just an area of brain tissue where there's a high density of neuron cell bodies and dendrites. The cell body for this somatic neuron is going to be right here in the ventral horn. It's going to leave that ventral horn. It's going to go through the ventral root, spinal nerve, and then it'll find its way to the muscle that it's trying to stimulate. Okay? This is different for the sensory side of things. Let's say we have an afferent neuron that's connected to like a receptor. It could be like a pain receptor or something like that. This afferent neuron is going to come in through the spinal nerve, but he's going in this direction, afferent towards the brain. But he's not going to go down, he's going to go up. He's going to go in this dorsal root. And one thing that's interesting here is that the cell body of this afferent neuron is going to be right here in this bump. This bump is called the dorsal ganglion. And just like a ganglion, by definition, is just a collection of neuron cell bodies. So there's going to be a bunch of these cell bodies for these afferent neurons. If we remember, you guys remember what type of neuron this is? This is called a unipolar neuron, when you have a long axon and the cell body is kind of off to one side. So this afferent neuron is going to come in, it's going to send this signal going towards the brain, and then oftentimes it will connect with another neuron right here in the dorsal horn. Okay, that other neuron could be an interneuron, right? This guy oftentimes will kind of skip to the other side of the spinal cord, go in the white matter, and then head up to the brain, where it'll go to the thalamus, then the primary somatosensory cortex, all right, for processing, if it was, a pain signal like that. Finally, the one thing we haven't talked about is this lateral horn. This actually contains the cell bodies of motor neurons associated with the autonomic nervous system. So specifically the sympathetic nervous system. You'll have the cell bodies here, and these could be going to the heart to tell the heart to speed up. They could be going to the stomach to tell the stomach to stop doing its thing. It's kind of what the sympathetic nervous system is famous for. So what it'll do is the cell body will start here in the lateral horn. Those contain those cell bodies, and it will come down, exit out to the ventral root, and then go out to its target organ or gland. Take home message: ventral root contains outgoing signals, efferent nerves. Dorsal root contains incoming signals, or afferent nerves. Okay. And all right, there is one more thing that I wanted to mention, and that was where these roots kind of come out of the spinal cord from this view. So if we go back to this view of the spinal cord within the vertebrae, you'll notice that if we start with this dorsal view, you'll have the ventral root that kind of comes out, and then you'll have the dorsal root that comes out, got the dorsal ganglion, and these guys will unite right here. So the spinal nerves themselves that's what kind of leaves the little space between each vertebrae. This little space from the lateral view is called the inferior notch, and so you'll have the spinal nerves kind of coming out just like that. All right. So on this side, you've got the same thing, dorsal root, ventral root, and it leaves. All right, and that kind of puts it all together. That's kind of your take home.